Back to the channel. It's Bullfrog Hikes. Today we're going to be discussing inflatable pads versus closed cell foam pads. So to get started off, I want to mention that for a through hike, I think you want an R value of at least 3. I would say for me, comfortably, I would want above 4. Which is why I chose the Neoair Xlite. It's kind of a perfect pad for me, and I've gone through a few pads to get to that conclusion. One of the pads that I used, and this was the one that I started my through hike with last year, was the REI Helix pad. It had an R value of 4.9. It was a little bit heavier, I think closer to 2 pounds, because I had the long and wide version. Super comfortable. It had these baffles that kind of they had the baffles were more so like a mattress than a sleeping pad that you would buy. So super comfortable pad. There was 2 valves. One of them that you pump, and the other one was just to let all the air out. So I would just pull one thing, and the whole pad just went flat. Like 2 seconds. It was hilarious. Like every time I woke up in the morning, I'd just be laying there, and I'd be like, guys, we need to get up. And then they're like, okay. And then I'm like, all right. And then I would just go and like wake up the whole campsite. So that was one of my favorite things about that pad. So yeah, I mean, it's a great pad. I would still recommend it. A little bit heavy, a little bit bulky, but super comfortable. Great pad. The one downside to this pad is that the pad, if you do get a puncture in it, if the puncture goes through into one of the baffles that are kind of shaped like this, so let's say you get punctured, like it's not as steep, it's more like that. Let's say the puncture is like right here on the side wall of that. When you patch it, the patch might not sit as good on it. So there are some little cons in that design. It's not all perfect, but in general, I think that thing is super reliable, and as long as you just don't be an idiot and throw it out onto a bunch of rocks to play cards with people you met on trail like I did, you're probably not going to get a hole in it. So you'll be all right. Just keep it in the tent. Make sure you check where you set up your tent and that there isn't a bunch of glass and rocks and sticks and thorns. Who knows? All kinds of crap, you know? So yeah, that's kind of... I ended up using that pad, and then I graduated to a foam pad because I was like, all right, I'm sending this thing home. I'm going ultralight. And foam pads are great. I loved it. I had the Exped closed cell foam pad. I bought it for $20 on REI. There was a huge sale. And I had the long and wide version. So it was like, I mean, it was like this wide. And when you packed it down, it was like pretty tall too. So that thing was a lot of pad, let me tell you. Kind of annoying when you're hiking because you're like rubbing it up against trees and stuff and all. It just looks kind of goofy. It looks like you have a giant, I don't know what, like platform. You have a giant rack. I don't know. It just looks kind of off. I just didn't really like how it looked from the visual aspect. Kind of annoying to bump into stuff. It does replace multiple pieces of gear. I got rid of my Gossamer gear pad. I sent it home. I sent home my Nemo sit pad. Didn't need that anymore. And yeah, but the weight was significantly lower, so that was kind of cool. It was like 16 ounces, which is right at a pound, versus like 2 pounds. So huge weight difference. Overall, the closed cell foam pad was pretty enjoyable. I didn't get as good sleep sometimes on it because of rocky campgrounds, etc. And the worst sleep was when I tried to use it in a shelter and had to sleep on flat wood. That kind of just, it hurt my back, and it was horrible for me to sleep on the side with it. Looking back in hindsight, I probably should have picked up the Nemo switchback because I think their design is much more comfortable, and it actually allows you to be somewhat of a side sleeper on that pad. It is a more expensive pad. It's like $50-$60, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, for $20, that thing was amazing, for sure. The next pad I ended up purchasing, and the main reason I needed to even purchase another pad was because I bought a different backpack, and I kind of had to revamp my whole setup to make everything fit properly and feel more ultralight. I mean, these ultralight backpacks, they're only designed to hold like 25 pounds comfortably. And if you go above 25 pounds, you're probably at risk of damaging the pack. So, and it's not going to feel good. You're going to hurt your, things are just going to feel maxed out. The hip belt's going to kind of rub in. The shoulder straps are going to like dig in. Everything's going to kind of hurt a little bit. Stay within the weight specifications of the pack. You don't want to break anything when you're on trail. So I ended up going and trying the Uberlite. And the Uberlite was okay. I would just say I slept one night in it during the winter with a friend of mine to do a little shakedown hike. And I literally froze. I was completely frozen. And one of the reasons was because of, I had a quilt upgrade I got from the Kelty Cosmic sleeping bag to a Z-Pax top quilt. And because it had no bottom to it, I was extra cold down there. So I felt the cold through the ground, and the only option I had was to pump up the Uberlite to its max, because my idea was to get it as much height away from the ground as possible, and that did help. But I was super uncomfortable and still froze the whole night. So I just want to say, get a higher R value. Sometimes temperatures do drop even in 3 seasons, and you just want to make sure that you can handle it. Myself, I'm a warm sleeper, which means I don't really need that much warmth. I don't need like a 0 degree bag or a Thermarest extreme whatever. I don't need like some crazy warm sleeping pad. An Xlite does me just good enough, and a 20 degree quilt is all I've ever needed. That's pretty much it. If I ever needed to get any warmer, I just threw some clothes on and I was beyond good to go. And for your information, guys, I did find my Z-Pax beanie, which I didn't have in the gear list video, but it is on that list. So I don't know what it is about beanies. They always beanies and gloves always somehow tend to like slip away from me. It's so annoying. I just lose them all the time, but hopefully I'll keep track of it and take it with me on the trips. It's like every time I lose my beanie, I also have like a panic that it's just gone forever, that I dropped it outside somewhere, or like, I don't know, but it always turns up at the end of the day. It's just some place I didn't expect. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you kind of, were able to draw some conclusions about what gear choices you want to make for your sleeping pad. It's a very important item. Sleep is a huge deal on the trail. So make sure you choose carefully. But yeah, otherwise, guys, have a great day, and Happy New Year, Happy 2024. This is going to be an awesome year. I think that big things are going to happen for me and for everyone else, and I'm just wishing you guys the best of luck. Take care, guys. Bullfrog signing out.